But I mean, wait, this is I'm sorry.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Thursdays with Tracy. I'm Tracy. I'm joined by Theus. And before we get started, I want to invite you all to visit the website at tracymediallc.com. Support us on Patreon. Like this video, share this video, and of course, while you're at it, you can support Radical Truth to Power. There is theirs. And there is Theus's Complex, Patreon.com Complex Mind. So, Theus, how is it going?
It's going good. It's my first day off after leaving my job. So I'm in a good mood.
Well, today I wanted to talk about four things that I think that the Democrats should do if they want to maintain the House and the Senate. It's 8, but I'm switching it to 4. And before I get started, I want to announce that Saturday, September 3rd at 6 p.m., there is an online scavenger hunt. You can find the link on my website, tracymediallc.com. So we'll get started. My first tip, and I'm saying this to the Democrats because as much as I don't like them, and I really don't like them, I can't bear the Republicans being in charge of squad. I can't. I cannot take them. I don't like them. They make me sick. So anything to see them not in power, I'm for. So
Welcome aboard.
I'm still saying some of them we need to just kick to the curb. Now I'm not fully converted just yet. So don't get too carried away. So, of course, Theus is going to offer his opinion without me even asking. So we'll start. You're going to offer your opinion without me even asking. Come on. Can we be real?
I'm bashful and shy.
You see, I'm going to take you off here because you know you lying. You are lying. Okay, so number 4. And I'm going to do this as a countdown. Voting rights. Expand them? Well, no, let me backtrack. First of all, make them permanent. Stop this every 25 years. We got to make sure that black people get the right to vote stuff. It's getting on my nerves. We need to make it permanent. Now, to make it permanent, unfortunately, you have to get rid of the filibuster. And you got two little nitwits that are making this so hard, and I don't understand. They both say that they are for voting rights, but yet they block the filibuster to override voters' rights. They did it to raise the debt ceiling, but couldn't make that same pivot when it came to voters' rights. And you can go ahead before I continue on my rant.
Oh no, I was just listening to the lists, but I'd have a different list of 4. But at this point, I don't know how they would deliver on either of those.
I
They
say
should have, but I
you know,
don't know how they.
I don't know why voters' rights was put under the infrastructure because you
Yeah,
know
you
you're
do.
going to get some type. You know you're going to get some type of infrastructure. Period. Because Republicans, they're gonna go. They want to say, "Hey, I voted for this." Okay, of course, all these voted against it, but in general, you're going to get some support for infrastructure. Why put that before voters' rights? It was just like you're saying, "Well, we know you're going to vote for us." It's like they're not even trying anymore. I'm like, stop it. Why did they? When did the Democrats stop trying with specifically black voters? Like, when did it happen? Like, did they just say, you know what, we're done?
They did it with the realignment in the 60s when it became that the conservative party, I mean, they happen to be called Republicans, but it's conservatives. When it became highly idealized, highly ideologued, and openly hostile to us, then they knew that the game for us was already over. Because who else you gonna vote for? So that's it. Game set match. So now they have to look at who's the next up and coming demographic that we need to get over to our side. And they're trying to decide between Asian and Latino right now. We're
Yeah.
not truly on the map in that respect.
And a discussion I would love to have, not on this show, because we just don't have enough time. Is it time? And I hate to agree with Candace Owens. You know, this is going to make my stomach just like if I barf on camera, just pardon me. But maybe it's time for Black people to weigh our options and make them earn our votes instead of just automatically, oh, I see a D, I'm going to just go ahead and vote for it.
I think that is an interesting take. So, the thing about the Black vote is we have always been pragmatic. Always. Now, it has taken form as us voting for the Democratic Party, but that is because of how hostile the Republican Party is. Because we have a lot of Black conservatives who would be more than willing to vote for a Republican if not for all the racial issues and our rights. If not for those two things. So one, anything Candace Owens says, even if it's the truth or it's accurate, I reject it.
Okay, keep it petty. That's okay.
No, that's not keeping it petty. It's keeping in view who your enemies are.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because it's too easy to get seduced or misled when you're not able to keep a clear eye of who is not for your best interest.
Yeah,
I can say something nice and sweet, but I actually advocate on the whole for things that will hurt you. No, you need to go find somebody else to tell me that truth, because anything comes out to your mouth, Candace, is tainted. So it's like,
yeah, but I think here's the point she's making. And again, I can't even believe I'm defending this. What has the Democratic Party, seriously, on the national scene, not the local, can you name 2 good things that they've done?
Okay, certainly. So the Affordable Care Act, which provided health care to a lot of working class and poor Black families that couldn't have access to it before. Medicaid, which is a Democratic program that's continued to be protected by the Democratic Party, which a lot of our people rely on. The social safety net, which is Social Security, food stamps, things like that Republicans constantly try to erode or get rid of, that we disproportionately have to rely on. Labor rights protections.
Okay, I said
women's
2.
rights.
Yeah, I said 2. I said 2. I did not say make this a list of 10. I'm like, okay.
But I'm just saying that I say all of that to say that we have to operate outside of our gut emotions and actually take a second and realize, okay, if you feel passionately about something, then that generally means that it's serious to you. And if it's serious to you, then you owe it to yourself to take it seriously. So you write it down. Like, what are the positives? What are the negatives? And then make, certain decisions or calls. Candace Owens is playing with people who are already frustrated with how pathetic the Democratic Party is. But her solution is not for your best interest. What she is really trying to do is get you so frustrated that you won't even vote for the Democrats. Like, she's accepted you're not going to vote for the Republicans unless you're a special Black like she is. So those Blacks she already got. She wants to make sure the people who can get in the way don't vote.
Yeah, she wants to make sure Black people stay at home.
Exactly. So why even entertain something that she says? You could come to me and say Jesus is good, fact, and then go kill puppies.
Hey, babe, be careful, because I got kicked off of Facebook for saying somebody should be punished.
No, you're right. You harm puppies. But no, it's just, that's the point, that I need people to be more disciplined. I get the venting. I get the frustration. I just saying, you got to be, we have to be intelligent. What is it that we're trying to go after, and not just, I want to throw a tantrum. Ain't nobody going to take you seriously. Throwing a tantrum. All right, cool. What do you do with a kid who throws a tantrum? walk away from them and let them do
No,
it.
I still think Democrats got to do something on voters' rights because I'm like,
Oh, I agree.
if
I
we
just don't see
can't
it happening
vote,
in the midterm.
they better do something because okay. So number 3 is health care. I do not understand why we don't have Medicare for all.
Yes,
I
you
don't
do.
get it. I don't understand it. I'm like, look, we are in the middle, we are still in the throes of a pandemic
Mhm.
where we were giving out vaccines. Basically, you show up, you can get a vaccine for free. Why can't it be that same way for insulin and behavioral health prescriptions and respiratory issues? Why we don't if 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 Joe Biden would get off of his veto any bill that's Medicare for all or stop taking money from the health industry, if we could get health care for all, that would just benefit everybody. Could you imagine not having to pay a premium out of your paycheck?
No, because it will come out of my paycheck anyway.
No, I'm just saying that would be taken away with Medicare for all.
No, it wouldn't. It would just take another form. But I'm not against it.
No, it would take away.
It will come out as your Social Security payment.
That's incorrect. It would not.
Where who's going to pay the premium? Is this going to magically come out of nowhere?
No,
Congress doesn't operate that way. It
it's
will become part of your taxes.
it's based off of income. Only those who earn $400,000 are the ones that I've seen.
It would never support it. The system would cave in.
See, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that.
Show me the numbers. Explain that to me. If you only look at the people who make more than $400,000 a year, which is a tiny portion of the American population.
Correct. They would be
Tiny
the ones
portion.
paying for their own health care, essentially.
Hmm?
I said they would be the system that I understand. And I'm only talking about the bill that Bernie wrote and a few others sponsored, because that's the only one I know. The system, you would only start paying for your own health care when you made a certain amount. And it may not be 400,000, but it's pretty high. I'm like, oh, I'll never make
Usually
that.
when they pick a number, they say 250 or something like that.
Yeah, it's whatever number
still,
that is.
Still, there's very few people who make that money. So what I'm saying is, okay, well, first of all, I understand that a progressive dream is Medicare for all. But oftentimes people tell me that they want Medicare for all. They don't understand Medicare. So I sold Medicare. I can tell you Medicare for all is just shifting who pays. And I'm not against it. Understand that. Because I think from the position that America is in, the least it should do is invest in the health of its population.
Yeah. So let's rephrase this. I want single payer health care. That's what I want.
But the money has to come from somewhere, because here's a couple things that will happen. Okay.
Could cut military spending.
Okay, that's not realistic. Because we know it won't happen.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it's like we could always say, okay, close the tax loophole so the money can't slide out the back door. So now when you tax the wealthy people, the money actually makes it back into the economy. But unless you're going to fix the tax code, that won't work, right? Then you can say, okay, well, make it like Medicare for all, where as you're working, you're paying into this thing, and it's not one for one. You're just paying into it. We're all contributing into it. And then, we're all being serviced by it. Okay, well, it would quickly become insolvent if you don't make it so everybody on some tiered level is paying into it like we do with Social Security. Because people who are older are going to have a much higher draw on that resource, and people who are young, like very young children, and they're going to have a heavy draw. So it'd be the people in the middle, as it is now, who are actually supporting the whole system. And if we're not fixing the issues with the tax code and the labor issues and the salary issues, and you see what I mean? Like, there's a lot. We would have to have a responsible Congress that's willing to do big things. And we don't, because we have a government that the Supreme Court has said it's okay for corporations to be politically active on an unlimited basis. So your job does not have the same interest that you do.
I know, but see, and I think about it maybe because I think about healthcare in such a simplistic terms. If you own a large corporation, not a Fortune 500, you have a company and you got over 100 people, and you're paying maybe 65 to 75% of their healthcare costs. I'm guesstimating because I don't know the number. You would save if we had this single payer healthcare. You would not have to pay any of that money anymore. That would just go out the window.
Well, it would go into your taxes because that money needs to go to help pay for.
But the corporations are not going to put that in the people's paycheck.
But that's a problem. So that's the problem with that solution, because this only will work if you go through the deeper pockets, right? And those are going to be your corporations. It's not the wealthy people. It's their corporations that are wrapped around these people. So the employer, instead of paying for my health care or helping to subsidize my health care, that would no longer be a line item for them. But it would go into their taxes, right? Because their taxes will go into the pot that helps to pay for all the other stuff, the medical stuff that we're talking about. Well, we don't have a capital system that is motivated or incentivized to care about the individual.
That's our problem.
Yeah, you presented it like, oh, well, cool. That takes this burden off of you.
I know. That's why I said. That's why I cautioned and said I'm probably thinking about this in the simplest terms possible.
I'm with you. I'm just saying that even if it does, from what you were saying, let's just say that worked. Like they were smart enough to close whatever loopholes, and so, hey, corporation, you don't have to dump all this money on these healthcare plans, which they've been weakening for the past 20 years. But you don't have to do that anymore because there's single payer healthcare now. Okay. Corporations would still oppose it.
Of course they would.
Because you will not completely, you will significantly impact their labor structure. Because one of the main reasons people stay on a high net worth company job is because of the strength of the benefits.
But if you have more
benefits, I can go where I want to.
Yeah, I'm like, I can be free to go where I want to go instead of being
in the company's best interest.
Forced to stay at some company and I'm just working there to make a paycheck, but I'm not making any commentary. That's just me. Okay.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying that all the things you presenting are good. I'm being the Debbie Downer saying, here are the things that come with it, because for a corporation, what benefits me as an employee is not what benefits them. They want me to be stuck on a job
with
where
no pay.
My pay is what I negotiated when I started. And then for the rest of my time at this company, I might get a 3% raise.
Maybe.
They want that. If you take the benefits out of the equation, now I'm going to be like, okay, been on this job for a year. That job will pay me more. Bye-bye. and we'll just do it because there's nothing else to hold me down. I don't have to worry about this as a startup that can't pay my dental.
I'm still for single payer healthcare. I'm not coming off of that. I think if we had it, we'd be a whole lot. Because healthcare, you have insurance companies literally will go on their premiums. No reason.
Absolutely.
Just no reason. Well, we just felt like, really? Absolutely. You don't really do that?
Yep.
And it makes me sick. And either that or the worst case scenario, which I don't like, is to expand Medicaid, which is what some states are doing. To qualify for Medicaid, you have to be really, 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 really poor. Really poor.
That's true. Well, you should be. Because there are people who are self-employed and make really good money, but because they make sure their money flows under the table, and I know this firsthand, they appear
to be
broke.
Yeah.
And they got SNAP benefits, and they got Medicaid, and they got a $500,000 house that they live in that belongs to their brother's company that they actually run. So,
See, it's the downer, everybody.
hey, I'm just saying, whatever we want to do, I'm with most of it. I have different motivations for it, but I'm like, we just have to do it with a clear eye, and that's how I feel.
You can't be against number two. There's no, if you are, I'm taking you off and I'm going solo the rest of the way. The children are our future. The future is now. And I'll tell you why I mean that, because there's a whole lot of different subcategories for this.
I believe the children are future.
We did not ask for a solo. At this point,
you knew it was coming.
No, I didn't. I'm like, no. Get the tax credit back. Or stop sitting here running, oh, we got the tax credit. And then everybody's like, but where'd you go? Oh, but we got the tax credit. Make the tax credit permanent. It helps families when they get that extra. Now, I don't have children, so the tax credit is never going to help me. But I could see for a family with, 2 or 3 kids, they're under, I forget the levels, because again, I don't have children, so I don't know. If you're getting $200 extra a month, that's $200 that you could buy food that the prices keep going up, buy gas that's up to $4 a gallon in some places, maybe 5, maybe 6.
It's dropped back down, so we're around 4 now.
Yeah, you could do so much. $200 doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot if you're a family that's struggling. If you're choosing between paying the light bill or getting food or paying rent, that's a lot of money. And I'm like, stop running on you got the tax credit and you know good and well that the tax credit is gone and you're not even talking about how we're going to get this back. It infuriates me to the uttermost.
Yeah. So the tax credit was always there. This was just advancing it. And in my opinion, the Democrats are going to suffer heavily on that particular point, because it's one of those things where you would have been better off not doing it at all.
Right. Because you got people used to it.
Well, then I have that's true, but I have a frustration with people on that part, because people need to stop being simple. And I don't mean to be insulting. Well, actually, no, I do mean to be insulting. I hope this insults some people. Stop being simple. This is serious business. So the tax credit, we were told that it was temporary to help us during the pandemic when it was going completely sideways. Now, personally, I wish it was permanent, because it's the same money that normally I'd have to wait till the end of the year to try to file for. It's making you
not wait. It's like giving it to you now when you need it instead of waiting until April. Okay, April, get here, April, and hopefully make it. So
that part I'm 100% with, because personally, I also support that you should have a minimum income. Now, but that's just me, and that's not a wide opinion, I guess. But so long as we live in a country that's fighting with who gets to be an American, what it means to be an American, and all these things, you can't expect that to stay permanent. But I think that we have to point directly at why it's gone. And it's, yes, of course, Mansion and cinema, but it's so much bigger than that. See, people are being lazy with their outrage, and they're like, if only Mansion and cinema didn't get in the way, as specifically Mansion, who killed it, it would still be here. And, families are struggling and children are starving. And this is all true. But the real problem is there are 50 Republicans where you couldn't get 3 of them to say, yeah, I think this is good for people. 3 people. That's all we really needed to make
that's all you really needed
to make up for the 2 senators, Manchin and Sinema, and 1 for Cushion, right? You couldn't find 3 out of 50, but we are going to go out there and punish 48 for that.
Okay, let me tell
And
you where
that's not cool because we're going to hurt ourselves. We're going to give more seats to the Republicans out of spite.
Here's why people do that. And I agree. Well, first of all, I agree with what you're saying. However, the people who feel like that, we're never going to vote Republican. We have to take our frustrations, and hear me out, we have to take our frustrations out somewhere. And I know you can do that by organizing and primarying and all those things. That's the better way. But when regular person shows up to the booth to vote, they not thinking about primary. First of all, I'd be surprised if
it was too
large
late
enough.
once you showed up for the vote. Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't even. I would doubt that most people know that there's a primary coming up in their states in May. I mean, I literally have had to tell people, "Hey, have you voted? Have you registered to vote for the primary? Is the primary this year? Yes. This is more important because you're sending members of Congress to D.C. So if you support Joe Biden, which I don't, but if you support Joe Biden, you need to send more Democrats in the House and in the Senate so that agenda can be pushed forward."
I think that's where we need to change how we say it. That's one of my biggest frustrations with Black politic people. Now, granted, remember, I'm very centered on how at least my perspective on Black issues, but the messaging is horrible.
What was wrong with what I said?
Here's what's wrong with it. If you support Joe Biden, we didn't vote for Joe Biden because we supported Joe Biden.
Well,
we
sure
voted
didn't.
for Joe Biden because we supported us. And the choice was Trump, who's bad for us, or Biden, who's bad for us. But who is going to harm us the least? And who is going to actually try to do something to rein in what's killing us? That's Joe Biden. So it was a practical decision. So to me, I would say a better way when we're talking to our people is we have to get away from trying to scare Black people to vote a particular way. And we have to start giving people a reason to vote a particular way. So I would say, not if you support Biden, I would say if you support the issues that will most benefit your children and your elders, then you need to get more people in office that represent more of what you believe in. See, I never said a party. I never said Biden.
Yeah,
but now I'm talking about the Democrats.
Yeah, but here's the problem with what you're saying, and again, it's probably all semantical. That's not how most people think.
But
that is not how I understand what you're saying.
If we don't, they need to. So if we don't do it, when will they ever?
But you have people that see. I have to disagree on that because when you're talking to most people, shoot, they aren't even watching this podcast.
Right.
If they're watching news, they're watching MSNBC, CNN, Fox, AON. They're already being programmed. So you have a whole, not to say I disagree with you because I don't disagree with you, but you have a whole, you got to take a lot of soap powder to clean that grime and dirt that's in there.
But my thing is this. If we take as a given, because really by the numbers, most people are not political animals. Politics is so frustrating for most people that they actually take pains to ignore it, and then they'll hold their nose and go vote because that's just what I need to do every 2 to 4 years. I get that, but either there's only two ways I can see this. Either we can say that's not how people function. They don't function on a high enough level. They don't think actively about politics, and they're not going to take in that level of detail. If we say that, then we should just quit. We should just quit and just let it be whatever it's going to be. There's no need to even talk about politics because we've already decided people aren't going to do anything. Let people just do what they do. Or the other side is what I believe Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party and Stokely Carmichael and Malcolm X were all advocating for, which is You have to make people who are relatively unconscious conscious of that. You have to finally start to talk to us like we're not children and say, look, walk me through what matters to you. Right? I think one of the biggest issues, activists do a good job of this, but us politic headed people, we do such a bad job at is we try to preach to somebody how they should vote. And it comes across to them as, you know what I'm saying? Where we should be coming to them like, what actually matters to you? What moves you? What I see you got I see your son here. That's, handsome little guy. Do you know what he wants to be when he grows up? And then you start talking to them and you start getting into what they actually, it takes more work. It does. But that's how you get more people who would normally just stay home to be like, nah, I need to show up because, yeah, I didn't even think about it like this, man. I got to change the sheriff. Oh, I didn't even think about it like this, man. I got to change the local prosecutor. We have to be human when we're talking to people and not just talking at them like a commercial on TV.
Someone agrees with you. I'm not going to say who.
Well, thank you.
Short list. She on my list now. But yeah, like I said, I don't disagree with you. Another point in the children are our future. The future is now is childcare. I have no idea. I had no idea childcare costs so much money. I didn't know it. I was like, as a person with no children, I'm like, what do I know? I'm sitting here. You know what I assumed? I assumed that all the churches that had daycares, they were doing it for free.
No.
I thought, they taking the little kids and they had little Mama Thomas over there teaching the kids and little Father Thomas over there teaching. I thought it was free. You couldn't have told me this. I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean they charge?
A lot of people will actually think that. Like they may not verbalize it because it's not something that's front of mind, but they really do think what you just said.
I literally thought that until somebody was like, no, Tracy, it's not free. We pay. I heard one person say they paid $250 per child per week. I'm like, are you serious?
Yes.
My math is terrible, but that's what
$2,000.
Yeah, $2,000. Where are families getting this money from?
Because you have to. Because you have to.
Well, where are they getting? If you're making, let's say you make $9.50 an hour, it's more than daycare. You have to get a relative to watch your child.
Yep.
And then, no, I don't mean to put this out there, but that relative may not be so good with children.
But or you might be living on your own with your kids, so you don't have a support system.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you don't have a support system, where do you get?
Then you hope you live in a state that actually lets you use the lottery dollars to fund pre-K and daycare. But that's few and far between for the daycare part.
Pre-K is like what, 3 or 4 years old?
Yeah.
And then kindergarten.
4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. So you still got age 1, age 2, age 3.
Yep.
Okay, as a person with no children, what do you...
And they go in daycare at 3 months old.
Exactly, because the mother, unless you work remotely, you
if you work remotely, it's hard. Children have a lot of upkeep.
You do. And I've heard a lot of babies crying in the background when I'm calling people. I'm like, oh, okay. And so now I know, at first I thought, that's really bothersome. And then I stopped thinking that because I'm like, well, shoot, they got to do something. Daycare costs so much money.
So one of the things, for those of you checking me out on the patreon.com/complexmind, but that's one of the things down the road we're going to be working on, which is we're accumulating money and we're going to help. The goal anyway is to help offset some of the daycare costs for families, where like we might pay $50 a week, for a child or to a household. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it takes you from paying $200 a week to paying $250 a week to paying $200 a week. Tell you that. But yeah, I was paying. So like my mortgage folks, is less than $700. That's it. My daycare bill was $12.50. Okay. So COVID saved us money because it
And
made us come home.
yeah, because you would think the employers, this is where I think the employers could step in. This is exactly where I think because if
I
you're an
agree, but
employer, oh, my employees, they're not going to all be like me. They're probably going to have a child or two or three. Why don't I just have a little daycare center downstairs or on the other side of the building where you could put little Tommy and little Harriet? I'm giving them the most Anglo-Saxon names ever, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
Where you could have that child.
I'll tell you why.
And you could go down there and be like, oh, just pay a couple people, not to babysit, but actually to teach.
Right.
And that would make more sense to me than what's now where parents are literally struggling.
It wouldn't work in our system as we accept it. So part of my plan for my businesses is I would have a daycare on site. But here's the thing you have to understand about having a daycare on site. It's a loss leader. Okay. The cost of insurance to run a daycare is astronomical. Then you have all the upkeep, like the sanitizing and all those different things. So the cost for upkeep is like stupid high. Then you have to go and staff that thing. Okay. Well, if you're the employer who's providing this service, then that means the employer is paying for this. Okay. That money has to come from somewhere. Either they got to jack their prices way up or they got to bring your income down.
Oh, they got to bring the income
Right?
down. See, I wasn't thinking about any of this. I'm like, oh, okay, well, why don't they just...
Only reason I've thought about it is because I've actually built out plans to do something similar to this. Like I want to start a rec center where the rec center will have before and after school care built into it. We work non-standard hours. So in the morning, yes, you can get there from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock for drop off for kids. But when we start running school hours for the kids, when we ultimately have the school might not start until 9 or 10 o'clock. So that when it's time for you to get off work and you come back to get your child, it's not a question of the kid having dead time, kid having to start real early in the morning, and all these different things. But you have to do something like that. You have to not be focused on the profit.
Yeah, you sure do.
So,
well, see how I don't
but
think
you do
about
have
stuff.
to be profitable. I've learned that the hard way. You better find a way to make sure you are making money, because otherwise the people you're trying to help, you ultimately will hurt. Because when you close your doors, they don't have nowhere to go.
Here's where I'm thinking that the Democrats could help. I don't think what I'm about to say would have a shot in tarnation of passing in Congress. I think every Republican would vote against it. I think Kirsten Sinema would vote against it. I think Joe Manchin would vote against it. I don't think it would help. I say give the parents a $10,000 tax credit, an additional $10,000. And I know 10,000 women. No women. That's not right, because you said $2,000 a month, so that'd be 24,000. Yeah, 24,000 for all of your. Well, I would say each child, but that's like me saying
for households. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. I think that we have gotten played. So we have been trained to look at everything as a tax refund or a tax rebate in order to help people. When actually, in my opinion, the US government, the federal government, and the state governments, less so the states, but still the same thing, they're supposed to be loss leaders. They're supposed to be doing the things that would normally lose money. That's why they take money from us. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and not the rich people, but hey.
No, but that's why they take taxes, right? Building a road does not directly make anybody money, but that road does enable businesses to make money. So the government should be doing the things that aren't necessarily profitable. So to me, they should be the ones, like you said, paying the health insurance premiums. They're not the ones administering the care. There's still doctors doing hospitals doing that. But instead of having 15 insurance companies who have entire structures that they have to support, sucking the money out of the system, now you just have the single payer, like you said, right? And the doctors build a government, and the government has their auditors, and you spin up a whole new department and whole new agencies within the government to deal with these things. But then the question comes in, this is why it's not happening. If you do that, all these private companies, what happens to them?
They just work for the government.
That's one, that's anti-American, and two, it's not practical, because like who's a couple companies, Cigna, Humana,
Anthem, United,
right?
etc.
There's a whole bunch of them, right? So they would have to start doing massive layoffs, because the only private insurance companies that would last would be the ones who become boutique insurance companies.
Like if you want plastic surgery, go buy your. We're not paying for that.
If you want elective surgery like that, or if you make so much money that you're willing to pay your own way through a private insurance carrier, which they would definitely create that, okay? Because you're not going to want to deal with all the masses, okay? So that's fine, but it would be a severe downsize. A lot of people being laid off, terrible press. For however many election cycles, whoever was in office when you decided to do that, your party is done, right? So that's one reason it won't happen. And then like with the daycare thing, in my view, daycare, education, healthcare, defense, law enforcement, things like that, those should all be provided by your government. And you should pay taxes to make sure the government can do those things. And the people who are responsible for administering these things, all of them from the bottom to the top, all the way to Congress, you should have laws in place to make sure they only earn their salaries, that they can't get kickbacks and favors. Now, you will pull out a lot of the gluttony that keeps the broken stuff broken. But America's not ready to do that, because in order to do that, we would have to be able to have someone like you, Tracy, come along and say, you know what? Vote for me. I'm running for U.S. Senate, and I have plans to help revolutionize and modernize healthcare that benefits everyone. Red state, blue state, independent. I'm here to represent all of you. I want rail across the country that helps all the flyover country no longer be flyover country. I want education investment that's no longer based on your zip code, but it's based on your citizenship. You live here, you should be taken care of and educated so the next generation takes us further. Like, you should be able to say those things.
But you can't.
You cannot, because you're still going to be tied as a Democrat or a Republican or a third party.
Yeah, because when as a third party, you literally have no chance. You're like, you might as well. And I love the way you gave me U.S. Senator. You didn't just give me Congressperson. You just put me right up there, which I appreciate. I really do.
Well, okay, so can do it. Yeah.
My last point, and we're getting done with this a lot sooner than I thought, the economy. Here's another thing I'm going to propose. A lot of people are going to say you're crazy.
You're crazy. I'm just playing.
As much as I don't like Andrew Yang, and I really don't.
Oh, boy.
I really don't. I don't get him. I don't understand him. He had one good idea. Universal basic income. That is the one good idea that I think he had. And I'm like, why the Democrats don't ever explore that? If they just sold it right to the American people. If they went to the American people and said, hey, could you use $2,000 extra a month? Who's going to say no? Well, some crazy Republican, but let's just ignore them, because they're going to, no matter what the Democrats do. But in this scenario, I'm just going to ignore them, because they're going to vote no. I could say, let's have peace with Canada. Right. I could say have peace with Canada. And they'd be like, oh no, Canada's attacking us.
What about maple syrup, huh?
Yeah. The Mounties can't come anymore. Be quiet, Republicans. But let's just put them to the side because I got something for them. If they sold it to the American people, hey, what could you do with $2,000 a month per household? I'm going to say per household. I really want to say per person. But I'll say per household just to make it feasible.
If you're over age 18 and you're paying taxes, there you go.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with yours. Tell the average person over 18 you're paying taxes, $2,000 a month. You're not going to keep that. Most people I know are not going to keep that $2,000 a month in a bank account. They just aren't. You know, most Americans only have less than $400 in their savings accounts in the first place. I can guarantee that if we got $2,000 per month, we spending it. We can
for a while.
For a while, we could save for a down payment on a house, possibly. Afford the rent on these apartments that are just going sky high. The rent on these apartments in major cities is absolutely ridiculous.
It costs more than a mortgage.
Yeah, $1,250
for one bedroom.
Try a studio because I'm thinking about exiting, and I looked at some studios. I'm like $1,250. No, it would help groceries. You could just literally buy food, and not just that bad Walmart brand food. Like you could buy like healthy things like apples and grapes and vegetables and Whole Foods or something. Not at Whole Foods, but you could buy more healthy nutritional things.
Yeah. But here's the problem with that, Tracy. The only way that works is if you hold all things constant, and they won't. I mean, look at what we are currently living through. They gave a piece of your tax money back to you, far less than was needed to help people through the first 2 years of that pandemic.
Right.
And they use that people got a total of like $1,200. And they're like, well, now people don't want to go back to work. $1,200.
Yeah, like what? Right? You can't. That's $100 a month. Oh, who can live on that?
Did nothing, right? But they're using it, and so you never let a crisis go to waste. Is politics 101 and finance 101. Amazing how those two go together. But if you had a universal basic income, unless you fix all the other stuff we know is messed up, gas will go up, cost of everything.
Yeah, that's my only cautionary tale. I'm like,
right? And I hate to say it that way because that's usually what conservatives say to poo-poo on increasing the minimum wage or something like that. But they're saying it because they are on a meritocracy measure where they think, if you were blessed, then you'd have more. Like that's how they view things. But I'm saying it because we live in a gross system that says, there's more money out there. I'll take it.
No. Hey, Anna, I ain't running for no office no time. No, you can forget about that one.
But what I did like about what you were saying is basically feeds off of that spiel I was running on for when you run for Congress.
Listen, audience, I'm not running for anything.
And that's the best thing about you when you do run for office, because it's best for you to be chosen than for you to seek it, right? So that's actually a great quality. And that's one reason that I would definitely support your candidacy when it's time. But what I'm saying is there are issues that do cut across, but no one's presenting them that way because it's easier to only focus on what emotionally triggers your group. Neither side really wants to deliver anything. The Democrats actually want to try to deliver a few things because they know how messed up their base is. The conservatives, they don't care. They only fuel emotion because emotion is enough for a dumb person, and that's what they do. But like, if Biden was not as much of a creature of politics as he is. And we weren't dealing with a truly corrupt Congress from head to toe. Then you could have someone come out there and say, I think these are practical things. You come out and you say, hey, we're going to invest in the internet, you know, coast to coast, shore to
Yeah,
shore,
broadband.
right?
Yeah.
Like they said they're going to do, right? But Democrats are so wonky that they'll get stuck in policy language and miss the message.
See, you're saying wonky. I'm saying weak.
No, it's not weak. It's wonky. What I'm pointing at is wonky because the way you message broadband to people is you live in Kansas, you are out there farming and building. You are the people who make this country run. Because if we can't eat, we can't work. The people in New York that everybody gives all the attention to on the coast, right? I'm a Democratic person saying this, right? You got all the people on the coast making all that money, and all they do is they play with make-believe money, is what a lot of people would say. But you know what? They couldn't do that if they couldn't eat. So they couldn't do that without you. And what helps you make sure that your product gets to market so that they can then trade it, so that they can make sure that your food and your product gets across the world? Broadband.
True.
You deserve it. Your children deserve it. We need to deliver that for everybody, right? There's ways to do it. But instead, what a Democrat says is, what's the name of the bill that they passed? The infrastructure bill?
It's not Build Back Better. It's something.
It's the other thing.
It's the other one.
But it's like, we passed an infrastructure bill, and that's going to put $10 billion into our crumbling roads and bridges. What the hell does that mean? I'm sorry. What does that mean? Okay? What does that mean? What I needed to hear is we have our engineers, and they're working across the country. And I'm hearing from your mayors, and I'm hearing from your governors, the ones who are actually with you, who have to drive on these bridges and drive on these roads to try to do their job, just like you do. And this bill is going to make sure that in your city, those things get fixed. I don't need to hear dollars and cents. They don't mean nothing to me.
But that's what they're going to campaign on. I got $20 says they're going to campaign on $10 billion. Like, shut up.
They're going to say that. And they're going to say that we need to make sure that we get more Democrats in office so we can keep Mitch McConnell from taking the gavel. And these are true statements. But that's not how you motivate somebody who's trying to decide.
Nobody knows who. Well, so I would say nobody knows who Mitch McConnell is, but unfortunately, everybody knows who Mitch McConnell is. So you said there were some in these last few minutes. You said there were some that you thought I forgot.
Oh, so how I think the Democrats could try to salvage some of this?
Try.
First thing would be like what we were just kind of ending on, shifting your message. Exactly. We should be investing in getting those lines strung or buried. And that puts people to work. That makes it easier for your kids to learn and for you to work. It's that simple.
High-paying jobs.
So that's one of the first things. The Democrats need to change their messaging. Second thing, they need to avoid talking about voting rights as much as they possibly can. They need to avoid talking about that. And they need to avoid talking about immigration. Don't you dare bring up either one of those two things, because you failed. And we know you failed. And we know that there's no way you can do anything until you get a new Congress. So what you need to do, this is my take. You need to focus on what will strengthen your hand in the midterm elections. Well, what will strengthen your hand is you need more people in the House. Because fortunately, the redistricting didn't go as horribly as we thought it would. So you need to get more people in the House. And you need to get at least 3 more senators. Maybe 5. Right? Because you're going to lose a seat.
Because you got to make Manchin and Sinema's voice mute.
Not only that, but we're going to lose some voices. And you don't know who it is that that won't make it through. 50
Right.
50 is a bad place to be. So if that's what your goal is, then you need to focus on what does that. Um, and that's going to be for me, and this one is a pipe dream, but you start talking about making the territory states. I think you should at least start the conversation. And the way you started is not, well, let's make Guam a state. No, 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 no. We look at saying, we are the leaders of democracy and free will and self governance. And I think it's time that we really take a look at the different territories that America has the privilege to call part of our great nation and give them the right to vote as full Americans. We know they're Americans. Let's treat them like it, right?
And they use our currency.
Right. So you come at it that way. And people like Joe Manchin, who are way smarter than me and they're in this political world, they know what that means.
Yep, that means he's gonna lose his voice because you got what? Guam, Puerto Rico,
U.S. Virgin Islands,
U.S. Virgin Islands.
So
DC maybe, but they'll use the Constitution to block that one.
Yeah, I'm not a big one on that one, but I'm not going to oppose it. But that's how you do a brushback pitch, so that you send a message to the streets that, okay, all is not lost. We really do need to get more people in the seat to obstruct what the Republicans are doing. Get Manchin and Sinema out the way. That will also change representation. That will also make it so that Biden will have the ability to add 1 or 2 or 3 more justices to the Supreme Court. All the things that we know we want to do, but you have to change Congress to do it. And at this stage of the game, it's too late to talk to me about voting rights, because all you're going to do is piss me off, because I know you can't. Like, even if you did something at this point, it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah,
at this point, it's already too late.
All the states then drew their maps. So
they done drawn their maps. We're about to go into primary season, like you just said. So by the time you get all of Congress together and you get Manchin and Sinema on board and you pass something, it's too late for the primaries, which makes it too late for the general, which means we're still talking about 2024. So if that's the case, be quiet, get through 2022, start the argument back up again, right? Other thing the Democrats can do, executive orders. Start popping them bad boys.
Yes. I forgot that one. I forgot all about that one.
Man, I'd be writing EOs like it ain't nobody's tomorrow. And what's the thing when you have consent decrees, right? Obama was blocked by the Republicans on anything he wanted to do about criminal justice, but he could do consent decrees through the DOJ. Do it. You start having the federal government climbing down these police departments' throats like they did towards the last part of Obama's administration. That will give us a signal that voting rights, yeah, we're still mad about that, but you're doing something on criminal justice, right? Do that. Then you have to focus on the Latino community and the Asian community. You got to play up that emotional play. Here's what we did for you guys, blah, 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 blah. This is about just being a cheering section to get people to vote for you.
Yep. And stop saying, we're going to fund the police to kill more people of color. That's not really what you want to say.
That was the worst thing I am not a Biden fan, but I know that's true to his roots. That was stupid. Well, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm not a big fan of the decriminalization of marijuana the way that it's happening, because all they did was create a cottage industry overly dominated by white men to now sell marijuana. Meanwhile, legally, Black and Latino men who were selling it to actually eat are still sitting in jail. So if you don't fix that, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care.
Well, I hate to cut you off, but audience, it's time for the after party. And I don't think Marlon's going to be with us, but hopefully we'll have a great discussion. We're going to be talking about TV dads. And so we'll have a really interesting discussion. Remember Patreon, you all have the link I just sent it to you today. So if you want to come in and join us, please do. Remember to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and support me on Patreon. You can always find me at TracyMediaLLC.com. Theus, tell everybody where you can find you.
I've already had the opportunity to plug. Y'all make sure y'all go to TracyMediaLLC.com. And not only that, because we have such a wonderful family here. I know you guys are already supporting Tracy. Please try to find at least one more person just to get them to hear what she's saying and what she's doing. So we can try to get some more support coming her way, because she's really working hard for us.
Audience. Oh, and the big news, I'll see you all next Thursday. There won't be a 2-week interval because we had our last committee meeting 2 weeks ago. So next week, I'll be with you here at the same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 Central Standard Time, and I think 4, I don't know the times, but they're on the webpage.
6:30 Central.
Thank you very much, Theus.
This may very well be my last Thursday for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Boo, but yeah,
it's been fun. Thank you so much for allowing me the privilege.
You're welcome. So we'll see you all in about 1 minute in the Patreon room for all of those who are Patreons, and we'll talk to you later.